朋友们，大家好。本期视频是今年9月在波兰华沙举行的一场辩论会，或者说是研讨会，主题是摆脱对中国的依赖，在亚洲范围内寻找其他合作伙伴，实现所谓的多元化。其实这个是欧美近几年来的一个热门话题，他们多年来依赖中国制造，现在想摆脱中国，这到底可行吗？值不值得这么做？首先，欧美为什么会有这样的想法？很多人的回答和视频里的华沙大学教授一样，说是疫情敲响了警钟。还记得在疫情初期，欧洲国家因为买不到口罩、药品甚至呼吸机，手忙脚乱的情况吗？当时很多医疗用品几乎全靠中国提供，而中国的优先级肯定是先满足自己国内的需求。这种被卡脖子的感觉，让欧洲一些国家开始反思，我们是不是太依赖中国了？但这个只是表面现象，更深层的原因是，首先供应链的安全性，他们发现太多重要产业链环节掌握在中国手中，比如半导体材料、稀土资源、电子制造，这些领域离开中国基本无法运转。第二个是地缘政治因素，中国正在成为美国地缘政治领域的同等级竞争对手，欧洲国家担心中欧关系万一恶化，可能会对经济造成巨大的冲击，所以减少对中国的依赖，听起来是一条安全的路线。但是理想很丰满，现实却很骨感。为什么呢？因为中国的制造业已经成为全球产业链的核心。有人说过一句话，你想绕开中国做生意，基本等于放弃1/3的世界。视频里有嘉宾也提到，中国掌握了全球75%的关键技术，比如稀土资源，中国提供了全球90%的供应，想找替代，短时间内几乎不可能。在光伏、5G 设备、家电领域，中国已经不仅仅是制造大国，更是技术引领者。很多欧美企业即使有能力生产，成本也会高得离谱。另外，中国有一项独特的优势是体制效率，就像视频里韩裔女嘉宾说的，中国可以一声令下全员发力。比如高铁建设，中国在短短几年里就成为全球高铁技术的领导者，而在欧美，决策周期长，协调难度大，推动一项跨国合作往往需要几年甚至更久。视频里波兰政治学家指出，想要彻底减少对中国的依赖，至少需要40年的时间。这个听起来很夸张，但是背后是现实的原因。第一个，人力资本的差距。欧洲的劳动力成本比中国高出几倍，而且年轻劳动力不足，很多需要密集劳动力的产业根本留不住。第二，技术积累不足，在一些高科技领域，欧洲确实有领先的部分，比如芯片制造，但在许多关键零部件生产上，中国已经形成垄断。重建这些产业链需要大量的时间和资金投入。第三，缺乏统一的规划。中国有5年规划、10年目标，甚至清晰的2035年发展蓝图，而欧洲的政策更像是短期应对，缺乏整体性。更关键的问题是，值不值得这样做？减少对中国的依赖，意味着更高的生产成本、更慢的研发速度，甚至可能影响普通欧洲消费者的生活品质。欧洲需要的是在安全和效率之间找到一个平衡点，而不是完全与中国脱钩。下面我们一起来看看视频吧。
For many years, we were actually sort of blinded and fascinated by the opportunities that China brought us and gave us. But now we're becoming here, at least here in Europe or in transatlantic region, much more skeptical for obviously political reasons. But is it not too late? Can we afford to actually distance ourselves from China?
Well, we can try, but it won't be easy. China is definitely the major second superpower on the globe. And what is extremely important is emerging as a technological superpower. which means that China is surpassing us, as my predecessor was just saying, in high tech. In artificial intelligence, we have only two players on the globe. That is
but
US
you said,
and
Professor,
China.
we could try, but should we try? Should we give it a try?
Probably it will be necessary because we are living in different times. We were engaged with China for several decades. And since 2018, we have trade and customs war with China. And
it's going to grow.
Strategic competition.
Yeah.
So it is completely different era.
Yeah.
Because the Western world, starting from the US, realized how big is the Chinese challenge.
Have you changed your mind a little bit? Because from one of your interviews, I'm reading in one of your interviews, regardless of what Americans think, you have to align with China. This is the quote from...
Not recently, because I'm changing my mind definitely, due to the two factors. One was the pandemic, when we discover how deeply we are engaged with China and how deeply dependent from China we are. And secondly, of course, Russian aggression, full-fledged aggression.
That changed everything.
That changed a lot because we are on different sides of the barricade. Even in China, I'm saying right now that there will be no business as usual in our bilateral relations until the war in Ukraine is not over.
Do you think that China is going to lose that dominance that we're observing at the moment?
Well, I think at some stage, yes, because we are already seeing that it is losing. But we have to remember one thing. The trade between EU and China is roughly around 740 billion euro. You cannot do it overnight.
That's a big thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I think Europe has to prepare gradually to, do a differentiation of cooperation. And what Professor said earlier also, with the war in Ukraine and the situation of the geopolitical, what China is doing right now in the Southeast Asia, I think that calls for whole Europe to rethink how they want to engage with China. I'm not saying...
Can India substitute China in any way?
Well, I don't think so it will be possible.
Or Asian countries?
Well, they can diversify, I'll put it this way. It is not the way that they should just eliminate the cooperation totally, because West, generally US and Europe, wanted China because that was a cheap market for them to produce.
You said it's actually almost our fault that we've made it grow in this direction.
Yeah, yes, it is, and the fault which we make right now is like, for example, we can discuss that we will move some production or whole production to Vietnam or to India. Energy.
It was our mistake.
If you want to produce something, you need energy. If China by itself as a manufacturing output is bigger than USA, Germany, Japan, Korea, and India all together. So how you want to replace within 1 to 5 years?
So how long? Because the two gentlemen have just said that we should be actually at least trying to do this. What would be the time scale?
We were doing
10 years,
that
20
for
years?
40 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
How long will it take us
to make it back? We need at least 40 years. Why? Whatever we have, we are short of one very important thing. It's an issue which I repeat again and again and again. People.
Okay.
I'm from Gdańsk. There were shipyards. There was whole universum of the whole infrastructure for shipping building, beginning from the schools, university, up to the shipyard. Now everything is finished, disappeared. There is no even single person in the proper age which you can take to start teaching technicians, teaching workers to build ships. We are short of this, and this is the major problem.
And I'd like to ask Susan before we go on, because Susan hasn't spoken yet. So what is there in the Southeast Asia that we should really bet on, knowing that we should really change our strategy towards China?
Well, first of all, we have to have a good relation with China, but we need to be pragmatic about it as well, right?
And assertive.
Because the reality is that in new critical technologies, China is now has 75%, is a leader in 75% of those new critical technologies. And the rest are the US, 7 only. Right? That's kind of scary. And what's worse is that they have a monopolistic hold on many of those. So one way or the other, we will be having to deal with them. But there is promise here and there. For example, in the question of AI, Singapore has one of the world's premier...
It's number 3. It's number 3 after US.
One of the premier AI labs in the world. By the way, it was headed up by a Polish professor, Dr. Arthur Eckert, who's a friend of mine.
Academic exchanges, we've talked about it.
Yes, absolutely. They're also a leader. They also have a national policy for AI.
But, okay, but you're talking about industries, I understand, but can the rest of the region somehow, pardon me for this word, substitute the potential of China, working together as Asian countries plus India plus other countries of the region? Do you believe that they can replace this Chinese potential that we have contributed to building?
I think it'll be difficult to replace, and largely because of the governing structure of China. When China decides they want to do something, they can flip at a switch, right? The whole country moved, right? Yeah. Everybody was looking for ways to accomplish that. The rest of Asia has all the individual countries with different policies and different structures.
Sure. Right? Professor Guralczyk, and then JJ, I remember
you will be surprised, our audience, if you look for the major power in Asia, it is still United States of America. We have think tank, Australian think tank, Lowy Institute, which is producing for more than a decade so-called Asia Power Index. And still, according to this index, if you take US as 100% as a number 1, China surpassed 90%. And for instance, India, South Korea, and Japan combined is smaller than China. So we have 2 major players on the Asian continent right now, which is US and China. And here everyone is starting immediately, South China Sea, Taiwan issue. No. To my mind, it is, first of all, high-tech and space, rare earth, artificial intelligence, new generation of computers, and so on and so forth.
JJ.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, we cannot just finish the cooperation, but the question is also how we can jointly work to diversify. Coming back to the same point, you asked the question about whether the countries in Asia can cooperate. Yes, they can. But
and they are, actually.
They are. But again, what Susan gave the example, that's also real. That in China, the way of working is different. Where in the democracies of the world, the business decides if they want to do the things or not. So they have an edge over it. But on the long run, and I can see already, earlier there was offshoring the things from Western countries. Now they're reshoring the things because they want to reopen. Look at, the chips. USA, EU wants to bring it home. Will it happen tomorrow? No, but you have to start somewhere.
In terms of general international political climate, do you think things are changing and some change is coming in our European relations with Asia, Southeast Asia, the proportions of these
relations?
It's already changed.
Okay.
It's already changed, and it will be, unfortunately, competition and strategic competition will be growing. Much depends from the US elections results. Secondly, what will go on the domestic scene in China.
So we are in a waiting mode, sort of.
But definitely, whatever happens in the US, they have bipartisanship. The common approach towards China, that China is our American major challenge, competition, even enemy. And this will not change.
Sure.
It will put us here in Europe in a very difficult position. For instance, Germany is deeply engaged in Chinese market.
Sure.
They cannot just lose it like Russia.
Europe has
market.
one foot in China, another foot across the Atlantic.
That's why I am arguing that for a short distance we need to diversify. Sure. For a long distance, definitely it's difficult to predict what will happen.
Let me just ask, yeah, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, because in my opinion, what we are short of in Europe is a vision. Mm-hmm. We have no vision. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, China is following other East Asian countries, like, for example, South Korea.
They do have a vision. They do have a vision.
Yeah, of course. But in South Korea, General Park, at the end of 1960s, at the beginning of 1970s, he decided that South Korea will be the global champion in shipyards, in building of ships. And it happened.
Topic close to you.
Just ordered to leaders of big companies, you will do what state want you to do, not business is leading the country like United States, but the country, the state is leading the business. And the same is now in China. What we are short of, this is a vision, what we want to do as the thesis of this meeting. We are looking for fruits outside of China in Asia. We should think over and stop treating the world as a jungle and Europe as a garden.
Right.
Yeah. As soon as
we had this conviction, perhaps not in this part of Europe, but the rest would probably, with the heritage of colonialism and all the rest of it,
world is changing, but the old Europe is not changing at all.
Okay.